Happy February
y'all.
Cheese of the Month Club!
Woo!
Yay!
This is awesome.
Hopefully this is your first time enjoying our new medium that we are coming to you every month with a little video introduction. So not a full-on guided tasting. We do those in our business, but just an intro for those of you who want the added service of what you're going to be tasting in this month's Cheese of the Month Club.
We are so thrilled to be with y'all. Thanks for being a member of our club, y'all.
Okay, so this month is all about rennet, but specifically cheeses that are made with vegetarian rennet.
Yeah, and we couldn't have gotten a better selection. I'm super pumped because we're going to get to showcase quite a few different flavor profiles for you. We've got 5 goodies in your box that you either got shipped to you or picked up.
All right, so but first we should define what is rennet. So we know there's a range of you out there. Some of you are pro cheesemakers and can school us on this, and other people are amateur folks who just love to sit down and enjoy a good piece of cheese. So rennet is, in most cheeses, what you use to coagulate the milk. So if you have your liquid vat of milk, you might add in some starter cultures, which are gonna help that cheese grow into being a Gouda or a cheddar, but you've gotta do a lot of other steps along the way, but really the starter culture to get it going. And then you're gonna add in rennet. So rennet is a natural coagulant, and it's what changes the consistency from milk, from those liquids into solids. So making cheese is about separating the liquids from the solids. Little Miss Muffet sat on her tuffet eating her curds in whey. So you're trying to get the curds and you're trying to expel the whey, scoop up all those curds, and that's your goodness that's gonna end up being your cheese. So rennet comes from, in traditional rennet, which is a term, or animal rennet, it comes from the fourth lining, or the lining of the fourth stomach of traditionally calves, but it can also be lambs. And so that's why
kids,
animals, ruminants, we know in their multi-chamber stomachs, can process their mother's milk. And the folklore or the story behind it goes like, how did we discover that the fourth lining of a calf's stomach is what coagulates cheese? Well, those stomachs were often used as water pouches in nomadic days a long time ago, and that somebody put some milk in there to carry it as their vessel. And they were the Bedouins were riding across desert, and it agitated and it got hot. And when they poured it out, they actually poured out curds and whey. And so this is the story of the building blocks of how rennet came to be used to be able to coagulate milk. And we remember the whole reason that we're making cheese is milk's leap towards immortality, by a quote by Clifton, but it's to control the spoilage of milk. Milk will go rancid fast, but if you turn it into cheese, then you have that protein sustenance later on. So
one of the cool aspects of rennet is when you're in a cheese making facility watching cheese being made, rennet is what's used in a recipe that takes just a handful of hours. So it allows the cheesemaker to maximize coagulation of the curds, of the milk substance, and in a very short amount of time. So it's amazing because after bringing the milk to temperature and adding the cultures, when you add the rennet, it could take anywhere but as short as 20 minutes to an hour, and all of a sudden that whole vat you see this solid form, picture like a flan substance rise to the top, and it's because that rennet is really bringing all those proteins back together and trapping all the fat. It's a pretty amazing thing.
So, and that's animal rennet or traditional rennet.
And different rennets have different capabilities.
So these are vegetarian rennets. And so we're going to talk through some of them, but vegetarian rennet can actually be microbial. So it's made in a lab. And for those who are strictly vegetarian, it is vegetarian today to have microbial rennet, but originally the first ones were made from an animal rennet. So just for those who ethics matter, the more you know, the more information you have. So you have microbial rennet made in a lab. Then you have vegetarian rennet, often made in Spain and Portugal from thistle. What are other plants?
Yarrow has some, artichoke. These have these coagulation, the enzymes can coagulate milk.
And then what's the third that I'm thinking of? Oh, wait.
Traditional.
Yeah, okay.
Traditional, microbial, and vegetable.
Right. So, and each one can have different effects, different affects the cheese making process differently. And like thistle rennet has a very unique flavor profile, and y'all are gonna get to taste one of those. So really, we wanted to showcase in our one of a kind is specifically cheeses made with some sort of vegetarian rennet, so we could talk about it.
Okay, so you should have a menu in front of you, and we'll taste in that order or show you.
I prepared the board, so before you start telling them about it, this little beauty, which I took out of that vacuum seal plastic wrap from Mozzarella Co, it was wet at first, so I just dried it off with a little paper towel. And then there's a little raffia bow on it. I just snipped that off and took it off. And so now I have this beautiful little leaf wrapped cheese right here that I'm gonna let John tell us
And
about.
so this is Ojasanta. This is made by Paula Lambert at the Mozzarella Company. She's been making cheese since 1982 here in Texas. So she's one of the goat ladies of the 80s, one of the sort of the true pioneers of this craft in America, in the United States. You can recognize Paula Lambert because she wears these bright red frame glasses all the time. But she's got her cheese making plant in downtown Dallas. Fell in love with cheese in Italy.
In Deep Ellum, like it's in Dallas.
It's in Dallas. It's in downtown, and it's amazing. And this is one of her showstoppers. This is one of the more award-winning cheeses that she makes. These are Ohasanta leaves.
Totally edible. You can eat them.
Yeah.
They impart a little sassafras, anise, that herbaceousness to it.
A little minty. And you can also choose to unwrap the cheese and peel the leaves away.
Yeah, you could. And so instead, they were all wrapped around the bottom. So for a beautiful presentation, you could flip it upside down and just peel it open and have that
rest
on your
on
table.
those. And so it's a beautiful award-winning cheese with incredible flavor profile. So use it as you would goat cheese, either on a board or in many different fat on a salad, cooked with chicken, meats. But just note that it'll impart some more of those herbaceous flavors because having sat against the leaf, some of the tannins and aromas and stuff will have actually absorbed into the fats and proteins of the cheese.
And I love this with a dry white wine would be great. Also, I often don't recommend oaked Chardonnays, but I think because of the tannin from the leaf, it could probably stand up and play with a
Really
Chardonnay
nice
as well.
Chardonnay, yeah, totally.
All right.
All right, number 2 is this gorgeous, beautiful white rinded cheese. It's like a hockey puck. This is Kinderhook. So this is from Tom and Nancy Clark at Old Chatham Sheepherding Company in New York. Incredibly amazing, award-winning cheesemakers. They started with 150 sheep way back in 93, and has now become one of the largest sheep dairy operations in the United States. Now, sheep milk is a really hard style of farming, agriculture. Sheep only lactate for 6 months of the year, so you have a limited window in which you can make cheese. They do have a higher yield when you're making cheese, but it's still such a short window. So we don't have that many sheep milk cheesemakers in the country.
Whenever you can see them, support them. We know of more sheep milk producers that have gone out of business than can stay in business.
Yeah.
And these bloomy rind cheeses, take our Cheese 101 class sometime, our cheese class in a box, but you can eat the mold on the outside, leave no rind behind, be kind to your rind. But if you smell this cheese, you're gonna smell a little bit of peat moss, like think of like the floor of a jungle, like that kind of wet dank, damp. And you'll get a little bit of a mushroomy, and then oftentimes on the flavor profile, you get this vegetal flavor profile as well. Sheep's milk is the richest in fat, so that comes through.
So this was amazing because it's such a small wheel of cheese.
We've got the ripeness is spot on, y'all.
You guys are going to be getting this cheese right when we think it's going to taste its best, right? 7 days later, it's going to have actually flavor profile will have changed some because the microbial activity will be still moving forward in the process of aging, maturing. And so definitely eat this guy in the next few days after watching this video. Again, you can bake this with a little garlic and thyme and white wine if you want. Create a really fun camembert style experience. But typically if we put this on our cheese plate, it's going to be gone just as is.
Great with a fig jam or some other jam like that.
Crusty bread.
And what else would I say about it? Bubbles. I always love bubbles with bloomy rind. So anything, and that goes for beer, cider, wine, but a lighter sparkling beverage. And as John said, we often get like, what do I do with all the cheese? I have leftovers. we say once you've opened it, eat it within 7 to 14 days. That being said, these harder aged cheeses will last a lot longer. You can just kind of scrape them off and keep eating them. You're gonna, as John said, you're gonna want to eat this one within 7 days of receiving it for it to taste the best.
Yeah.
And the Ojasanta, if you leave it vacuum sealed, will last a little longer. But once you open it, you want to eat it within a week of opening it too.
A cheese like this will naturally develop aromas of ammonia. That's part of the rind development. And
Smell
so
it like you're in the caves.
it's part of the experience. And so the 2-3 weeks from now, we're tasting this just before you're getting it shipped to y'all or getting it picked up. But 2-3 weeks from now, that ammonia will keep picking up. And there's some people across the world that cherish that part of the experience in these styles of cheese.
And when you're eating this one, make sure you can either cut it out like a pie wedge or cut it in half and then do pie wedges. But the goal is that everybody equally gets the rind.
Yep.
So you don't start cutting it in verticals or something like that.
All right, so your next cheese is from Fiandino. This is an Italian producer.
It smells like buttered toast right now, y'all. So let your cheeses, I hope your cheeses are at room temperature when you're enjoying them, because the aroma is going to open up the flavor that much more.
So this one, Fiandino, the family has been in agriculture since the 1800s. In 1920, one of the family members decided to restart their cheese making operation, and they've been doing it successfully ever since. Focused on vegetable rennet. So this is an Italian cheese that uses thistle, wildflowers from the Alps in this part of Italy to create the rennet that actually does the coagulation. So all of their cheeses, Gran Canaria, Bergier Pichin, Blue Lao, they all use this vegetable rennet. This is they got this really fudgy texture.
The texture is awesome. Now have a bite. This is actually my favorite bite of this cheese that I've ever had. Like it just, where it's at right now, again, it's like this buttered toast with a little bit of like asparagus flavor on it to me.
I could eat that all day.
It's a natural rind. So some of it has this the paper label that came on it. So, I mean, it's not gonna hurt you to eat it, but that's not necessarily yummy. But this rind is natural and edible and taste of the cave. And with this cheese, I would put it with a lighter red right now, like a Pinot Noir, a lighter Malbec.
That's so good. So look out for Fiandino. They make butter cookies. They make really great salted butter. This is the cheese that we carry, the Bergier Pichin, which means the shepherd. Super delicious, y'all. Definitely from a thistle rennet standpoint, Spain and Portugal are the two countries that do a lot of that. So look out for those cheeses. The thistle can often come across as a little bit more bitter. So just keep that in mind as you taste cheeses that have the thistle.
I didn't get it tasting this right now, but like if I let it linger on the finish and John's saying that, I can kind of identify what he's talking about. But anyway, just a fun cheese to try. All right.
So now we're moving on to a Dutch Gouda. This is sheep's milk Dutch Gouda that uses a vegetable rennet, vegetarian rennet. Sheep's milk, again, we talked about it at the Kinderhook, but what's really cool about Ewephoria, about this style, is that Goudas are made in a way that presents as sweeter on your palate. And so not only does that sheep's milk present as really rich and velvety and luscious, but it also now, because of the recipe of the Gouda, it's going to come across as super sweet and caramel,
it's
butterscotch,
like cheese candy.
Cheese candy, totally. Eat it however you want it. It's wonderful. The rind is very intense and dry.
You do get that butterscotch. Sometimes I get a little bit of, not the salty part of soy sauce, but the umami of soy sauce. And then what's also fun, people always love cheese crystals and cheese. This one has it. That's a product of aging. I don't think you can kind of see it, but you can see those little white specks. And as the cheese ages and those proteins break down in those little amino acid tyrosine clumps, that's what makes that bite in those crystals.
Yeah,
This cheese was specifically made for the American palate because Americans like sweeter cheeses. And for a while we were like, that's ridiculous. We're not going to buy that cheese. Everybody loves this cheese. So now we buy this cheese.
Paired with like mushrooms and prosciutto on a pizza, it would be pretty spectacular. Play with it. This can go with anything.
I'd also just pour caramel right on it, honestly, and eat it with caramel.
Shave it over ice cream. over apple pie. This would be really fun with.
Oh,
So
my.
anyway, you're going to have some leftovers. Have fun with this. Let us know what you do. Just, put it on social media. Let us know how you consume all of the goodies in front of
All
you.
right, we got our big blue coming
Our
up.
last
You
blue.
have to be kidding me.
So this is a great pun. A ewe, a calf, and a kid. All the babies of the ruminants.
All walked into the cheese making plant.
That's a great start to a joke. So Tony and Julie Hook are based out of Mineral Point, Wisconsin. They've been making cheese for over 45 years. Specialists in blue cheese and Colby and Havarti, some of the block cheddars, but definitely one of the people making some of the best blue cheeses in the country. This is just because it's got these 3 milks. They're blending the milks in such a way that creates a unique flavor profile.
So remember that milks give you different species of animals contribute to different flavors of milk. So cow's milk is most versatile, but often known for being buttery and grassy. Goat's milk is tangy and this acidity, sometimes zesty, and sheep's milk is that rich nuttiness. And so you're getting all of them in this one.
This one's aged about 8 months, and the milk comes from one of our other great cheesemakers, Hidden Springs Creamery. And so it's a great cheese. Use it how you would with blue cheeses.
If you like a strong, clean blue, and by clean, I mean it doesn't taste really earthy and barnyardy. It's a clean flavor, but it's a strong one. This is a great one for any leftovers. John and I love to do a salad with these crumbles and then buffalo shrimp, or putting it on a buffalo shrimp grilled cheese sandwich.
Ooh, yeah.
We just get a little crazy here. This is a great one on a steak. It just has a lot of sharp pungency bite.
Without knocking you in the gutter.
If it's
got a
too
really
strong
nice
for you,
flavor.
yeah, pair it with something sweet. So honey on this would be great. A blueberry jam, something like that. So you can take it lots of ways.
Well, we hope that you go now and build a cheese plate or a tray or cook them in the dishes, but taste all these in the buff, see what they're like, and then do with what you will. Just enjoy
Come up with
yourself.
your favorite flavor combos and let us know on social media because we'd love to pass on your pairing advice too.
Yeah.
Thank you guys
Thanks,
for
y'all.
being a member of our Cheese of the Month Club.
Happy
We'll
February.
see you on Wednesday. What's the next month?
In March.
We'll see you in March, y'all.
Bye, y'all.